Hi, this is Ivey, the Fulfilment Artist. And in this video, I'm going to give you a review of Date with Destiny. So Date with Destiny, for those of you who don't know, is like Tony Robbins' best seminar. Okay, it was a 6-day seminar and I attended it in Florida. And it was absolutely ridiculous, okay? And what I mean by this is the day started and then we would finish at 1:30 a.m. earliest, right? The latest I got back was 4 a.m. Okay, and this went on for 6 days. And it's not like, oh, you get a 3-hour break in the seminar. No, you just go to the seminar and you're there the entire day, and then you have to bring lunch with you, you're doing exercises the entire day. It's just a ridiculous, immersive experience. So, some of the things that you learn at this sort of 6-day extravaganza are the following. So, the first day is basically an in-depth review of his seminar, Unleash the Power Within. So he talks about the 6 human needs. He talks about, the massive action, like how to get success in life. There's loads of different stuff that he talks on, right? And then he starts to move into his interventions. Now, interventions happen throughout the entire time. But an intervention basically is Tony asks someone to share or stand up. So they raise their hand, and Tony literally just, I don't really know how to explain. He just deals the pain on their mind. They say some stuff and Tony's just like, no, that's wrong. Do this. And he literally helps them in half an hour to an hour. It's unbelievably cool. I would say just go to see the interventions. It is truly remarkable to see the impact Tony can have. He's done this for such a long time. It is truly amazing to see him just work with people. Now, I have to say, my favorite night was what they call the sort of suicide night. And it was so fascinating, right? To watch Tony have someone stand up who's suicidal and then just deal with that issue and then go, that wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And then go to someone else and he helps them and then goes, no, that wasn't the exact example, because often Tony uses interventions to teach some of the principles that he wants for the audience to understand. So he's there and he's looking for an exact example where perhaps someone may come up with an issue that doesn't exactly sort of work with the content that he wants to teach. So he solves it and then moves on, but it's very fascinating for us all to watch and to be able to learn from. Okay, so interventions are happening throughout. Now, so some of the key things which I think are brilliant. The first thing is called the primary question. So the primary question is basically the question that you ask yourself constantly, right? So what is the sort of question that you ask yourself? It took a bit of time to delve into this. Now, my one was, what did I do wrong, right? It was in my life. I was like, oh, what did I do wrong, right? And although that was helpful to help me find out things that I could improve on, I would often look for things that are negative, and there's different ways in which to find your primary question, but it's a question you may ask every single day, right? That you're unconsciously or not even consciously aware of. So I would say, type in primary question, actually understand what it is, work it out, and then you replace it with a new primary question. So my new primary question is how can I enjoy and appreciate even more the perfection of this moment, right? And this redirects my mind onto, okay, well, what is perfect about this moment? Even more, there's a prerequisite that I'm already appreciating and enjoying it. And it was very, very fascinating to hear different people's primary questions and then creating a new question that you ask yourself in the circumstances where your old primary question would occur. And I thought that was brilliant. Now, the next part of the seminar, which I thought was incredibly fascinating, was the values work. So if you've been to Unleash the Power Within, or if you've heard of it, we'll basically dive into beliefs. Now, the Date with Destiny is where you dive into the values. So not only are you looking to elicit the values that you currently have, but then we reorder the values in order to live the life that you want to live. Now, I've done lots of NLP training, and you're told to be aware of how to shift values for people, because if you shift values, that's like a mammoth thing. The difference between having variety at the top versus love or versus security, and that's huge shifts. So that was really, really fascinating. And on the values work, he does this thing called a stress dance. And I swear, this is so funny. This is something that I think is so brilliant. I think I may have to include it in some of my seminars because it was just so ridiculous. In essence, it was where you were getting stressed and angry and what you would previously do when you were annoyed. And then to move like into this, from this stress dance into like your like new like strength paths of like who you really are and like moving into it. And like that transition conditioned was so fascinating to do, and you do it in a group and you get to see other people doing your stress dance, and it was just hilarious. I can't even tell you how cool it was. So reordering of the values was very, very fascinating. Now next I wanted to delve into relationships. So I thought that when Tony dived into Relationship Day, it was really, really brilliant to understand the dynamics of relationships, like often how relationships take place and how you can create a really sustainable relationship. Like basically, in essence, selection is important, and you need to make sure that you share one of the top 2 human needs with the other person. Because if you don't, then you're always going to be in conflict purely because you value 2 completely different things. And although different people attract, if they don't share like a commonality of what they value as a human need, then it's going to be very difficult to create a sustainable relationship that's very passionate. Now within that, Tony did this exercise, which I thought was one of the best things of the entire seminar, which was his sort of freedom bit, where basically all the men gathered together, and it was pretty much feeling like an army, where you've got Tony on stage and you're watching this video, and then Tony's there, and you basically, all the guys are standing up, and I felt like I was ready to go into battle. I mean, if Tony wanted to invade any country, then was the time to do it. All the men in the room were ready to go. I mean, there was 2,500 of us ready. It was beyond ridiculous. Okay, and then I think that there's also usually include so you've got if you imagine you've got the masculine and the feminine, and then you have the polarities of light and dark. And I think that's very interesting. And so, something to note is that with Date with Destiny, because Tony put so much content in, you actually won't go through all of the content because there's so much there. I think there's probably no Date with Destiny that's ever happened where they've gone through all the content that's in the Date with Destiny book, purely because there is so much. But what they do is they look for outcomes on each day, and as long as they get the outcome, then they're not too worried about the content, because ultimately the outcome is what they're looking for. And they'll have different outcomes on different days, depending on what it is that they want you to get. We also had an integration day, which is sort of integrating everything. Everyone made these beautiful posters. Now, some people take their posters back, some people don't. But in essence, this just represents every single thing that you've gone through in the seminar. You've looked in your towards values, your away values, your mission in life, like who you really are, your primary questions, you've got power virtues, things like that. I know I'm saying things, all of this stuff you can look up. I don't want to have to explain it all. I just want to give you an overview of everything. And then after sort of integration day, you then get sent on your way, and then you're done. So something else that I thought was brilliant about this seminar was also that you had a buddy system. So the way it worked is that, I mean, I've got to remember, this was scary. So you're put into these groups, and then you're told, okay, just look around, make eye contact, and then what's going to happen is you're going to walk towards your partner, and this will be the person that you spend the rest of the seminar with. And I'm like, okay. And I'm in the circle, I'm in the back of the circle, and I make eye contact with a few people, and I'm like, okay. I know that there's a few people here that I don't want to be partnered with, and there's a few people who I could kind of, I mean, there's one or two, okay. And then you sort of just go beeline and you try and find your partner, and they are your partner for the entire thing. Now, fortunately for me, I went beeline, got my partner, she was brilliant, we had a great laugh, and had a sensational time. But the important thing was that buddy system was very interesting. Now, I've done that in my seminars with regards to accountability buddies, but it was interesting to have a buddy for the sort of entire duration that was with you. So I would say, as a word of caution, it's really important that you get a good buddy. So when that happens, you go beeline and you make sure you get a good buddy. And you may not get to obviously know these people very well because you're put into sort of random groups, but you get a sort of sense for who it is. And, trust, it's probably going to be the right buddy for you, and you're going to have a lot of fun with it. So overall, I think that A Date with Destiny is a must to attend. I mean, if you think about how long Tony has done this for, it was truly sensational to see. It's very true. I mean, I heard people who went to Unleash the Power Within compared to Date with Destiny. Unleash the Power Within is definitely sort of kindergarten. Date with Destiny is sort of university and beyond. It was incredibly fascinating to go. Tickets are quite expensive, but the truth is, you are going to get that back like tenfold. Any investment that you make in yourself is something that is truly sensational to see what happens after. I think that's the most beautiful thing. So with that said, I hope that you guys get to go to Date with Destiny. It's a phenomenal seminar. Yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope to see you at one of our seminars very soon.